So yeah, did you watch the FEMA story? Oh yeah, I forgot. FEMA drama, Amsterdam hooligan story turns into weaponized anti-Semitism by media. You deserve a massage some night. I agree. Felix in the building to build an army of liberal Joe Rogans and more news. Get in now. They were low-key glazing you in the latest Chapo app. Wait, really? I haven't listened to any of the Chapo. I haven't had any time, dude. Which sucks. What did they say? They said nice things about me? Hell yeah, let's fucking go. That's gonna piss off their audience. It's funny, like, there's people in my audience that don't like Felix, and then there's people in the Chapo audience that don't like me. And it's kind of funny because, like, I love those guys. Like, we're friends. You know what I mean? We're like IRL friends. So it's always funny when there's like people in my community that don't like Felix or don't like the Chapo boys, and then there's people in their audience that fucking hate me. All of a sudden, everyone is Hasanabi. W takes. Yeah. I mean, I think people are kind of waking up. Chapo audience crush the loser haters in the comments unequivocally. Yeah, well, the thing that's perfect about both me and Chapo is that we both share an unimaginable level of resentment towards our community's naysayers. So that is like the most consistent through line. It's like Chapo, Cumtown, Tafts, Hasanabi. We all share a tremendous amount of resentment and frustration with like all of the chirpers. There's always some fucking chirpers in everyone's community. Hot dog, the people who dislike you the most also left Chapo over Ukraine stuff too. What do you mean? Just joined the DSA. You inspired me to create a chapter in El Paso to get to work. Hell yes, brother. That's amazing. Lyric compared you to Alex Jones today. Wait, what? There is no way Lyric is that fucking libbed up that he said I'm the Alex Jones of the left. That's some like, nah, there's no way. Lyric is the man. Yeah. Found a Trump AOC voter. Yemeni American former chair of Bronx Community Board 11, Yaha Obeid, who arrived in the U.S. from Yemen, aged 8, trained as a pilot, and now controls air traffic at JFK Airport, is more than just a model American immigrant. At the height of the first administration of Donald Trump, he was held up in a speech by his Democratic representative of the Bronx. Bronx's Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is a victim of the Muslim ban, the government shutdown, and the anti-immigration sentiment flowing for the White House. But on Tuesday, Obeid and probably thousands of fellow members of the Muslim community in the Bronx, which contains both the poorest and the bluest congressional districts in the U.S., voted for Trump, as did many of area's Hispanic and Latino inhabitants. What we have done right now is just hold the Democrats accountable, said Obeid, and the borough's 65,000 new Trump voters, who the Republican candidate targeted with a pledge to fight inflation and illegal immigration. They have taken our vote for granted. The Democrats are so funny. They are literally looking at people saying, I hate what you represent so much that I'm going to vote for a guy who is openly antagonistic to me, who has openly wished me harm. Like, like, this doesn't even read with so many of the Democratic elite. Like, they just don't even understand. They're like, there are Latino people with fucking undocumented migrant immediate family members, and they're like, well, you are just so unlikable. It's so annoying. I don't want to vote for you. Fuck you. I'm voting for the guy who's going to deport my fucking immediate family members. And there's a level of stupidity there for sure, like where they're like, oh, dude, that'll never happen to my family members. They're good immigrants, right? Like, there is a level of stupidity associated with that. And certainly there's a level of that calculation for like voting for Donald Trump as like a Muslim dude in the Bronx is in a similar vein, right? But like the DNC should be looking at this and going, instead of going, wow, these fucking black and brown people are so stupid, they should be like, oh my God, people are so unimaginably resentful and angry with us. Maybe we should change some things about our top line economic policy approach, and even like the way that the Republicans campaign year round versus the way we only campaign and beg you for money once every fucking 2 years. Well, don't worry. Ours found their wedge issue they're going to hammer for years. It worked in 2024 big time. So here we go. Dude, the trans panic shit is only being elevated by the media. Okay. It literally did not work big time. I saw the one exit poll where they were like, yeah, the trans stuff has gotten out of control. It was like 50% or some shit. I am telling you right now, no, it's the voters who are wrong. I know. Oh my God. The Democrats are going to fucking go further right. They're going to start being like, we are the trans killer party. Okay. Eric was saying the exact same thing that you said about how the podcast and everything were dominated by the right. Yeah. Anyway, North Carolina remembers when all the businesses left because of the bathroom bill. Pooh's butt. Hi, Hassan. The only 2 times I've gotten through chat have been jokes that landed poorly. So I wanted to apologize, reevaluate my approaches and stuff, and let you know that at least in 2 instances, chat wasn't being uncharitable. As it sometimes goes, thank you so much for what you do. Legit. Aw. Trans panic is fucking stupid. It does not work. Kentucky governor vetoes sweeping GOP transgender measure. Okay. Democratic governor pushes back against transgender related attacks by GOP in Kentucky campaign. Democratic governor Andy Bashar reelected to his 2nd term in Kentucky, overcoming state's GOP dominance. There is a method out there. Kentucky is a plus like 30 fucking Trump state. Andy Bashar is their governor. Andy Bashar is uncompromising in the way that he has defended trans people. And he is the most popular governor in the fucking nation state. Please suck my entire ass dick, okay? That is the lion, okay? That is Andy, the Lion of Louisville, okay? The Lion of Kentucky. That's not the Lion of Damascus. We're not talking about Bashar al-Assad. This is Andy Bashar, okay? Seth Moulton telling Representative Reed Epstein that identity politics hurts Dems. I have 2 little girls. I don't want them getting run over in a playing field by a male or formerly male athlete, but as a Democrat, I'm supposed to be afraid to say that. Yeah, these guys are so brave, dude. Thank God. Thank God, Seth Moulton. What has he done except veto bills? Brother, what are you talking about? This is a dude who has not only vetoed bills, like anti-trans bills. If the anti-trans panic was so fucking successful, then he would have been punished. Okay? That's the whole point. If anti-trans panic was so goddamn successful, Andy Bashar in a place like Kentucky would have never gotten reelected. Okay? They never would vote for him again. They'd be like, fuck you. You love trans people and we hate trans people. We hate trans people so much. How dare you dismiss our anger? How dare you dismiss our valid concerns about trans people? Are you going to react to the Hezbollah crash out claims he legit called you a terrorism supporter? I don't care, dude. Yeah, I don't care. Yeah, okay. Like, y'all calling anything a crash out? Yeah. Israeli soccer fans attacked on eve of Kristallnacht anniversary. So I will say this much. This morning I woke up and I listened to the NPR Daily. Big mistake, okay? It was so fucking annoying. It was so goddamn annoying because NPR spent like 7 minutes talking about the Hooligans story. Like the first 6.5 minutes was specifically about how, you know, all of these officials, all these Dutch officials were like, this is the Holocaust. Like, I can't believe we let the Holocaust happen again. This is literally Kristallnacht. Verbatim, by the way. That is not even an exaggeration. The Dutch king was like, this is Kristallnacht, right? You're saying it as if you on the Daily. It was so annoying. Oh no, it wasn't. It was NPR's Up First that I was listening to. They were like, oh my God, Holocaust 2 happened in Amsterdam, right? And you already know what the actual details of the situation is, but like, because we covered it extensively yesterday, and I'm obviously gonna have to cover it again because like it's driving media discourse, and I haven't seen anyone fucking course correct on this at all, which is really frustrating. Okay, but like minutes of like, this is literally the Holocaust. Jews are under attack everywhere. I can't believe that like the Israeli ultra nationalist soccer hooligans who were doing hate crimes like all over the streets of Amsterdam have a right to defend themselves, and people don't actually see it as such. What the fuck? We need to send the B-52 bombers to The Hague. We need to destroy Amsterdam. Whatever. I'm exaggerating, but like something along those lines, right? And then at the end of the fucking coverage, in the last like 30 seconds, they were like, and as a reporter on the ground, I talked to some of the locals who actually mentioned concerns about how the Israeli hooligans had started the entire chaos and were beating people and ripping Palestinian flags off of buildings. Last 30 seconds was the actual journalism. The rest of it was just the Dutch king said it's the Holocaust 2.0. Like, and I could not, I was like, dude, you need to get your broadcast license taken away. Okay. That's right. I said it. Donald Trump is right. Broadcast licenses now. Okay. I'm taking it away. I'm taking it away. It's crazy, bro. You're quoting a fucking monarch. What are we doing? What the fuck are we doing? What are we doing? Like, this is insane. NPR is true centrism. That's the thing. So Americans read it as leftist, but it's global centrism. It's grossly both sides. No, that's not both sides, man. Both sides, okay? Both sides are not the same in this situation. If you were to do a both sides are the same type situation, which I personally did, okay? When I originally covered it, I was like, it's a fucking soccer hooligan shit. Like, it's a soccer hooligan shit show. There are going to be racists on both sides of that situation. There's going to be fucking anti-Semitic people on one side, and there's certainly going to be fucking, you know, Islamophobic people on the other side. Sometimes there's going to be anti-Semitic people on both sides. It's soccer hooligans. Like, have you never fucking seen ultras? Like, what the fuck? There's like 8 total fucking clubs out there that have anti-fascist soccer hooligan franchises. Outside of like 8 total in the entire planet, virtually every single fucking soccer hooligan franchise is unimaginably right wing. And it's like, it's not your standard hooliganism. Yes, it is. Even on the fucking the Maccabi Tel Aviv side, it abso-fucking-lutely is like the same. What are you talking about? Italians throw bananas at their fucking black players, dude. What do you mean? It 100% is the same. The only difference is there is a government currently doing a genocide, and these guys are like flexing that genocide. Like I was telling you yesterday, the Times was working overtime to course correct after the real facts came out. They originally had the story on the Express desk, which is like the quick hit throwaway, non-deep dive stories. Then it blew up as the New York Times top brass tried to save face. They were editing the story all day yesterday, but it's like a gross instance of like journalistic misconduct to just pop off and be like, they did a crystal knock. Oopsie. Turns out we were defending some of the most racist, some of the most vicious soccer hooligans of all time. There is no equivalent in this situation. Like, you know, there's nothing. Like if Russian neo-Nazi ultras, soccer hooligans from Russia were roaming the streets of fucking Europe and talking about how they're going to kill Ukrainian babies, okay, and flexing how much they've killed Ukrainian babies, and they got their fucking shit packed up after trying to beat on people in some random fucking European city center, everyone would be celebrating it. People would be like, oh, look at that, dude. Can you imagine? There would be puff pieces about the fucking Ukrainian hooligans that actually fought back against the Russian hooligans, regardless of their political opinions. You know what I mean? They literally made it seem like it was a fucking pogrom. I hate that. Dutch person here, worth mentioning that Amsterdam is a leftist student enclave, and Geert Wilders has been calling the mayor to step down for weeks before the hooligans. Yeah. I think it's ridiculous. Like, New York Times, whenever there's a story that is like even tangentially Israel related, I feel like New York Times just shuts off its fucking brain, dude. I don't understand it. They'll be like, oh, this is like somehow related to Israel. Okay, well, time to just be bad at our jobs. It makes no fucking sense. It's so stupid. It's not just like dropping the ball altogether. And you guys know I have much love for my New York Times journalists, friends out there, including but not limited to some fellow photojournalists in the chat, as you may have noticed. But overall, it's like you can't turn into the New York Post when it comes to Israel, okay? That's insane. You're the fucking New York Times. And every time it is an Israel-related story, the New York Times turns into the New York Post, okay? It turns into a goddamn dish rag. It's crazy. It's unacceptable. And it also plays a significant role in people losing faith in mainstream media. Losing faith in mainstream media at a time when it is necessary for people to actually not lose faith in mainstream media. Oh my God. Yeah. By the way, here's the 15-year-old Dutch reporter who actually was reporting on the ground and got fucking threatened by the Israeli soccer fans, the Israeli fascist pieces of shit. Okay? These are ultra-nationalist neo-Nazis. Okay? That's it. That is literally what they are. It is so shocking that people still cannot see it. Anyway, the media is directly complicit in this genocide, but also directly responsible for the 2,000 plus spike in Islamophobic hate crimes domestically, often not even against Muslims or Arabs, but people orientalized like Mexicans and South Asians. Yeah. Anyway, 15-year-old's a far-right influencer? Wait, really? Okay, well, yeah, the Maccabi supporters picked up metal pipes, put on masks, and started chasing after people. News uploaded a balanced report on Amsterdam Hooligans, took it down, re-uploaded an edited version more sympathetic to the Israeli Hooligans, saying the previous one didn't meet journalistic standards, then deleted the new version, uploaded a third edit, still no explanation of what journalistic standard was violated. That's incredible. Dude, what are we doing? What are we doing? Are we trying to make every single person in the Western world be like, oh my God, like there is this incredible level of control? Is that what's going on? Like, do you want people to become anti-Semitic? Are you actively trying to get people to believe what fucking Nazis say all the goddamn time? It is very, very frustrating. I hate this shit. This is just simple manufactured consent. That's what it is. But most people don't track it as such because most people don't apply materialist analysis to things. They have an idealistic understanding of the world. So when people have good, bad dynamics and an idealistic association with what's going on, they look at this and they think, okay, well, you're presenting this as like sectarian differences, a religious conflict. Then yeah, I'm going to think that like Jewish people are responsible for it. That is not the case. Manufacturing consent and obviously pumping a shitload of propaganda at the behest of a foreign ally against a ethnic minority that is usually portrayed as the violent, vicious, barbaric hordes invading the nation state is actually so perfectly in line with the agendas of all of these mainstream outlets. But when you bear it like this, when you lay it out like this, on the one hand, you're obviously successfully antagonizing against Muslims and immigrants as a whole, right? Which is usually the purpose of this kind of coverage. But also on the other hand, for a lot of people, you're making it seem like, you know, this is Jewish people that are controlling the fucking media. And when there's so much unexamined anti-Semitic attitudes that people already have that they just never check, and then they see this shit, you're just pushing them further into the throes of fascism. And I despise it. And I find it abhorrent. I find it morally repugnant because you're fucking it up on both sides of the equation, because not only are you radicalizing people against Muslims, but you're also radicalizing people against Jews as well, at a time when both Islamophobia and anti-Semitism is skyrocketing, okay? Hate this so much. We are going down a very scary path, okay? We are going down a very scary path. It is tremendously, tremendously bad. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I don't like it one bit. I watched Dutch mainstream media change the narrative from both sides are wrong to it's a new pogrom and anti-Semitic hooligans were targeting innocent people. Yeah, we'll do yeah, this happened 2 months ago in Israel and it wasn't talked about. Israeli football fans attacked Palestinian fans with sticks. No, dude. The Maccabi Tel Aviv like hooligans are apparently notorious for pulling like this off, but it's not that shocking, okay? I need you to understand something. That is the least surprising thing of all time. Oh, wow. A far-right football club went and did insanely racist shit. And then on the other side, the people went back and beat the fuck out of them. Shocking. It's not shocking. I'm being sarcastic. It's the most normal bi-weekly fucking story in Europe. Every week this happens. Why is it now a massively consequential mainstream narrative? Because every moment that you're talking about this shit is a moment where you are not paying attention to what Israel is doing in Palestine. That's it. Here, I'm going to give you a great example of like how normal people who aren't inherently and automatically anti-Semitic find themselves in the throes of anti-Semitic tendencies as a consequence of shit like this. Okay? Here. This is Theo Von. Theo Von is not necessarily like a bad dude. I don't think he's like an ideological Nazi. Look how this normal conversation between Theo Von, one of the top podcasters, okay, versus Joe Rogan, the top podcaster, plays out.
True. Yeah, it's not true. Well, why? I don't understand why left-leaning media, which is mostly Jewish, are calling people white supremacists, dude.
Did you just say that?
Yeah, I just don't understand.
Left-wing media is mostly Jewish?
I mean, according to my Jewish friends, it is, you know? Why do they hate white guys?
It's just woke thing.
That is just normal combos now, okay? And for the record, if you've ever talked to a normal human being outside of like one of these fucking big cities, one of these major cities that I live in, that you live in, yeah, that is like low key what the fuck people say all the time, okay? This is a thing that people think, okay? And every time Israel does some shit, every time Israel does some fuck shit, okay, and says we're doing this for Judaism, and then, you know, they say if you criticize it, you are anti-Jewish, and then the media pumps this fucking propaganda directly to every fucking marketplace. For every older person that goes, oh my God, the anti-Semitism is out of control, you have like 11 people who go, well, goddamn, I think Jews do control the fucking media. What the fuck's going on? Okay, I don't understand it. Even if they agree, even if they're like, yeah, it seems like anti-Semitism is out of control, but also we're always talking about these dang Jews. You know, that's what happens. That's what happens. How do you expect a guy in Arkansas to look at the situation and constantly see this shit and be like, and not lean into the pre-existing underlying anti-Semitic fucking tendencies that they might have? I feel like I'm going crazy. Put into far left with Judaism. Where have we heard that one before? Yeah, I know. A classic. And I can't begin to explain to you. Like how, like, people will get mad at me for saying this. Okay. People will get mad at me for saying this, but like Theo Vaughn, I don't think is like a well-read neo-Nazi hiding his fucking ideological framework, right? Like, I don't think this conversation between Joe Rogan and Theo Vaughn is like two Nazis who are like, ooh, like, let's be sinister and sneaky. Like, it's just a dumb dude, one, trying to be funny. Like, he's not hiding his power level. You know what I mean? That is just straightforward. He's like, yeah, I think these Jews in the media hate white people. Like, that's straight up what he thinks. It's coworker talk, yes, but I don't expect coworker conversations to be like, well, you know, we should rise up against our masters type shit, okay? But you don't want your coworker conversations to also, you don't want your coworker conversations to be like, man, these Jews sure hate white men, right? What the fuck is that about? Like, that is literally just complete normalized fucking neo-Nazi sentiment. Why is it anti-Semitic that Jews own, to say Jews own Western media? They actually do. We see examples of misdirection and misinformation towards real facts concerning Jews all the time. No, dude. No. It is anti-Semitic to say Jews own Western media, because they don't, okay? It's WASPs that still very much own Western media. It's WASPs. They still love Israel, and they will also cynically say certain things are anti-Semitic if they're anti-Israel, but it doesn't change that reality. It doesn't change that dynamic. Their goal, for the record, and by the way, that chatter is literally proving my fucking point, okay? Their goal in the media, in mainstream media, in the Western world, is to prop up America's allies, okay? Is to go along with America's foreign policy. So the cynical weaponization of anti-Semitism, okay, against all things Israel related is no different than openly going along with Colin Powell claiming that there is, weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. Okay, that's it. And now do it with Hollywood. It's the same principle for Hollywood too. This is what a lot of people refuse to comprehend. Okay, if Jews controlled the media, or if Jews controlled Hollywood, and they wouldn't be fucking screaming about anti-Zionist Jews on a daily fucking basis, okay? Jonathan Glazer, who is the son of Holocaust survivors, made a fucking movie about the normal existence of Nazis right next to Auschwitz, okay? It was fantastic. It was gruesome, but it was incredible. It was an incredible movie about how people can just refuse to reckon with the violence that they're subjecting others to it's not just the banality of evil, but it's more so just like how people turn a blind eye to horrifying atrocities, right? The name of the movie was Zone of Interest. Jonathan Glazer got a fucking Oscar for this movie. And in the process of getting an Oscar for this movie, he stood up there on stage and said, I do not, as someone who is a descendant, someone who's a descendant of Holocaust survivors, I cannot stand by and see and allow my Judaism to be weaponized in defense of Israel doing a genocide. That's what he said. Everybody fucking clamped on him. Okay? Not only are Jews not of one mind, okay, no matter how hard Zionists try to tell you this, which is really fucking annoying, okay, that's not a thing. I mean, the oldest joke is, what is it? Like 2 Jews, 3 different opinions? Isn't that what the meme is? Okay? The entire principle behind the analysis of the Talmud is debate, okay? There is no single unifying attitude in any marginalized community, let alone Jewish people, okay? It's very stupid. But not only that, but also if there was some sort of, monolithic defense of Israel or some sort of like extra control that Jewish people had over the media or Hollywood, you wouldn't have anti-Zionist Jews getting fucking arrested left and right. You wouldn't have anti-Zionist Jews getting called anti-Semitic and smeared left and fucking right. Okay? That's not how this works, which is why I have consistently maintained the position that if every single American Jew turned into an anti-Zionist tomorrow, every single American Jew turned into an anti-Zionist tomorrow, America would still support Israel. Why do you repeat this so often? Because it's important to recognize, because it's the truth. And because I'm worried, I'm fearful that the more this kind of stuff happens, the more people find themselves in the throes of anti-Semitic opinions. I don't want that. There are always new people coming in and out. And I need people to understand, because anti-Semitism, at least historically, has been the canary in the coal mine of fascism, okay? Which is why I am extra careful and extra critical of institutions like the ADL cynically weaponizing something so severe, offense of an apartheid state committing a fucking genocide. Anyway, I also repeat this kind of stuff so that you can repeat it to your friends, because I know that this exact conversation, or many different variants of this exact same conversation, is probably happening with your coworkers on a regular fucking basis. So my job is Trump won, eat shit. Trump won, eat shit. Okay, nice, man. My job is to give you the tools, to equip you with the tools to adequately defeat these kinds of arguments with your friends, with your coworkers, make and articulate these positions, okay, so that you can ensure that they do not go down this devastating, terrifying, anti-Semitic pipeline. I had this convo with my dad, who has never met a Jewish person his entire life. Your talking points directly helped me explain it to him. Yes. Oh, weird how the Trump guy gets aggro when we're talking about anti-Semitism. Yeah, it's really funny for me that like Trump supporters who are anti-Semitic themselves and even like anti-Israel will be like, oh, he's just going to be different, I think, on Israel. Like, I promise. It's like, dog, he got $100 million from Miriam Adelson. The fuck are you? You're so stupid. You're the dumbest motherfucker of all time, okay? I mean, we already knew that, though, because you are anti-Semitic, so. I take your takes all the time. It literally makes the people around me happy. Good.
Media, which is mostly Jewish, are calling people white supremacists, dude.
Jewish. Did you just say that?
Yeah, I just don't understand.
Left-wing media is mostly Jewish?
I mean, according to my Jewish friends, it is, you know? Why do they hate white guys?
Theo Von is such a, like, he has such a good way of, like, taking something that is, like, completely unacceptable and just, like, saying it in a way where, like, saying it in a way where it is so not antagonistic and so coming from a place of ignorance and so casually that like it almost comes across as like, Like, if I heard anyone else say this shit, I'd be like, what the fuck, bro? Are you a fucking Nazi? What do you mean? Jews control the media and they hate white people? Like, Jews are white, dog. What the fuck? What are you saying right now? Especially in America. It's not like you're in Israel. Like, you probably have never even met, like, I mean, unless you're in fucking, unless you're in Los Angeles, like, you probably have only, if you've ever met a Jewish person, they are Ashkenazi, okay? What the fuck? Like, I thought he was saying the media hates white people. Yeah, he's saying the media hates white people, and the media is run by leftist media is run by Jews who hate white people. That's what he's saying, which is like doubly psychotic. It's doubly Nazi. Can you explain what a WASP is? WASPs are white Anglo-Saxon Protestants.
It's just woke things, man. It's just virtue woke bullshit. It's like the
I just don't understand it.
Well, because true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's good that Theo Von is saying anti-Semitic shit with Joe Rogan, just not pushing back at all. Yeah, see, people are like, it's the anti-Semitic shit in the room with us. Like, this is straightforward, okay? And I'm saying this as someone who likes Theo Von. I think Theo Von's like, you know, he has his moments. Like that right there is 100% like, that's a massive W for the neo-Nazi movement in the United States of America, okay? When you got a guy like Theo Von who now like is repeating those talking points on Joe Rogan in a way where he's not even like he's not even aware of what he's saying. So he just says it so casually in almost like a disarming way. There is no greater moment for anti-Semitic people than this, okay? It's the casual ways in which you can just openly demonstrate anti-Semitic sentiment like that, okay? That is, you get your coworkers to also tap in on this type of shit. You cannot normalize this stuff. This is not good. Oh my God. I do feel that in the last year that people conflating Zionism with Judaism has increased dramatically. A guy sent me a literal list of Jews in the Soviet Union as proof Zionists control the world. That's the funniest part. That is like scary, but it's also kind of funny because they're just like looping back around to do the Judeo-Bolshevism arguments while simultaneously being anti-communist. Like, that's the funny irony of like Israel defenders who are themselves like obviously some of which are definitely anti-Semitic, others who are not anti-Semitic, who are terrified of anti-Semitism, turning around and doing full fash arguments of like, you know, instituting a McCarthyist Red Scare propaganda against commies, right? Like that shit is a 1-to-1 with what the Nazis were doing, okay? Yeah, I saw this, and that's why I thought it was really funny. Yeah, I don't think it's good that Theo Von is saying anti-Semitic shit with Joe Rogan, just not pushing back at all. If telling the truth is anti-Semitic, then I guess you can call me Hitler. What is going on Twitter, dude? Twitter is insane, dog. Twitter is so psychotic. That's like I don't even know what to say anymore. You know what I mean? I don't know what to say anymore. We've just like lost the plot. We've lost the plot in its entirety, brother. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 por Dios. Yo voy a votar otro. There's also a version of this where they just use Zionists instead of Jews. Zios control the media, etc., which is obviously still anti-Semitic. Yeah, that is, again, inflation between Zionism and Judaism has muddied the waters, which is why I usually will be extra careful and considerate when talking about this. Because when people, you never know when someone is saying like, oh, Zionists control the media. I'm always like, like, I don't think you mean Christians. I think you're talking about Jews. Like, that's a problem. You know what I mean? And it also comes from that. It also comes from that like conflation, straightforward, straight up. When Kamala said we're not going back, I didn't expect this fucking back. No, it is so 2016. What is this? Bro, what the shit? They call us Nazis as if it's an insult. It's an honor, to be honest. Oh my God. Oh my God. I seen on InfoWars Fox News. This person was on Fox News. Yeah, we went back to 2016, but in many ways, we also went back to like 1934. How do you have a coworker conversation without coming off like you're just being a number one commie? I mean, The greatest way to do that is always to utilize my techniques of being like, why the fuck are we spending billions of dollars in war overseas when we got 600,000 people that are fucking sleeping outside? Okay, like that's insane. Fix the damn potholes. Give me better fucking broadband. Give me better internet. It's so fucking stupid that we're just doing this shit. I hate that. Yeah, people don't realize they're talking about socialism, communism unless you say the words. Yeah, exactly. I think it's a real ACA Obamacare moment. Okay, always remember that. People love the ACA. People hated Obamacare. Is Obamacare? So just talk about the fucking positives and then work them through the steps always. Okay? Never forget. People love being able to pay under their parents' insurance until the age of 26. People love the fact that insurance providers can no longer deny you coverage. Also, this in the response to the comment. Okay, can we just stop? I don't want to fucking see this shit anymore. Stop sending me this shit. Stop sending me Nazi posts with like 3 likes, dude. Come on. I saw a tweet where someone said their brother was fine with Obamacare being repealed because he used the ACA amount. That's what I mean. Bernie Sanders in 2003 worth a watch. I mean, I've seen this so many fucking times, but here, you know what? Let's just do this for the one time, all right?
Party do so good. Now I'm going to tell you something that very few people in Congress would tell you.
My fucking goat still.
If you are the Republican...
He's my goat still. We might have our disagreements, but, you know, I still love him. I will never forget his contributions to the progressive movement broadly in the United States of America. He will always have a special place in my heart, okay? You got to respect your elders, chat. And myself included in that process, by the way. I am your fucking elder at this point. A little self-serving of me, an old guy, to say such things, but I mean it.
Looking leadership, and this is what your goals are. Your goals are to give huge tax breaks to the very richest people in this country. Your goals are ultimately to privatize Social Security so that Wall Street can make money from that. Privatize Medicare so the insurance companies can make more money. Privatize education. Do away with public schools. Those are your goals, and you said that to the American people. You think you get a lot of lower? There are many members of the Congress today, Republicans, who not only will not raise the minimum wage, which is $5.15 an hour, you know what they will tell you, honestly? They believe in abolishing the minimum wage. Did you know that? Check it out. Telling you the truth. So that if Americans can work for $3 an hour or $2 an hour, not a problem. Now, if you had an agenda like that and you went before the American people,
I gotta pee.
Tax breaks for the rich, destruction of Medicare, destruction of Social Security as we know it, lowering the minimum wage or abolishing it, how many votes do you think you'd get? Not a whole lot. Maybe the richest 1% would vote for you. But that's not a lot of votes. So what do? I've got a problem. You package it. How do you package it? And here's, I want you to pay attention to me. Because this is bad stuff. I don't mind debating people who say, I was on the Hannity show, Sean Hannity yesterday, and Hannity, extreme right-wing guy, he thinks he loves these tax breaks for the rich and so forth, so we had a little bit of a discussion about that. Actually, it was a loud discussion, matter of fact. But I don't mind people who are upfront about that. Okay, give the rich more tax breaks, we can argue that. But that doesn't win you elections. So this is what you do. What you do is divide people up. When you asked me your question, how do I get elected? I said, I try to bring people together. We fight for women's rights. We support the rights of minorities. We support the rights of workers. We bring the majority of people together. And occasionally, honest people will have differences of opinion. In this room, there will be differences of opinion. But everybody in this room is in agreement that everybody should have health care, right? Question number 2, should we increase funding for education or should we lower funding for education? Raise your hand if you think we should increase funding for education. Okay, you're on the side of the vast majority of Americans. Okay. So on those issues, we bring people together. Now, what do the Republicans try to do? And they use it in what we call, kind of language that they not upfront about. What do? We divide people up by races. Affirmative action becomes one issue. All them black people are getting the jobs that we white people used to have. Split people, working class, white against black. Instead of working together to create decent jobs for all. Those uppity women now, they want the right to choose. We'll split people on the abortion issue. We'll split people up on the gun issue. We'll split people up on religious issues. You follow what I'm saying? So you split people up, and then they end up, if you're a middle-class person, voting against your own interests, and the rich go laughing all the way to the bank. Okay? And they very often play white workers off against everybody else. And we try to bring people together to say, look, we're all in this boat together, whether you're black or white, whether you're Hispanic, whether you're Muslim, whatever you may be. Everybody needs health care. How do we create a health care system that works for all people, not divide people up? Everybody knows that the kids, young people, do not make it into the middle class unless they have a decent college education. So how do we make college education accessible to all people? Not an expensive proposition, a tiny, tiny fraction of the president's tax breaks for the rich, if we put into financial aid, would make sure that every young person in this country could go to college without going deeply into debt. You know what? The vast majority of the people support us. But in order to do that, we've got to bring everybody together. And many of these, not all, and I'm not here to disparage all Republicans. Some very decent people happen to be conservative. I respect that. But some people who I don't respect will play off women against men, black against white. Oh, the gay issue, very, very big issue. Okay?
If you want to be right and too early, be a leftist. Okay? That's it. A lot of people will yell at you, but then maybe many decades later, people will look back fondly at the things you said for decades. Okay? People will look back and be like, huh, this seems like prescient.
Straight against gay.
Of course, being right too early is, in many instances, being worse. I mean, it's worse than being wrong all the time. Being right too early, in many instances, is worse than being wrong all the time. You fell off. I know I fell off big time, dude. It's Jover. My career is Jover. I need to do a right-wing pivot instantly. I'm going to start talking about how, like, I'm going to start watching Tyler Oliveira videos and agreeing with them and finally fucking cave and become a right-wing content creator. It's over. It's done.
Right? We're all supposed to hate gay people, so we split that group up. And then the argument, some of us are not patriotic. We had concerns about the war in Iraq. I voted against giving the president authority to the war in Iraq. Well, that makes us unpatriotic. We hate America. Divide those things up. And that's how they succeed. And they succeed with the help of the media. Because the media will not talk about how, in a sense, the common problems that Americans face and how we bring people together. And that's what I believe. I believe that on issues like everybody in this room thinks, I think, that instead of giving tax breaks to the rich, we should increase federal aid to education. Anyone disagree with that? Well, you know what? Most Americans agree with that. All of you think that every American should be entitled to health care. I suspect most of you think we should not have a trade policy which allows corporations to throw American workers out on the street and run to China. Most Americans agree with that. And our job is to bring people together on common interest, and some of these extreme right-wing people. You watch the issues that they talk about. Affirmative action,
Oh,
they
yeah,
use
I'm going
to
to watch
divide.
this video.
The issue of abortion they use to divide. The issue of guns they use to divide. And our job is to say, let's focus on basic economic issues. How do we expand the middle class? This is a great country. Why is it the average American is working longer hours for low wages than 30 years ago? Let's talk about that. Okay?
Amsterdam local here. We're organizing a protest tomorrow in protest of the protest ban, and the municipality has instituted how NPR is contacting us to hear our perspective on it. Do you think we should talk to them? Yes, absolutely. Talk to them. Don't be antagonistic. Be clear in what your goals are. Maybe even mention the fact that, like, a lot of mainstream outlets unfortunately got the story wrong, and that the locals' opinions is not being represented, you know, something along those lines. But yeah, always talk to the media. I do it all the time. Any opportunity I have, I usually, in my insanely limited schedule, every opportunity I have, I still will always stop and try to give some commentary, because I think it's important. I think it's important to be, I think it's always important to get your message out in front of an audience that has not heard it before. Okay? Mention the total editorial spins like the Sky News re-edit and the hive mind like condemnations filled with disinfo by liberal order world leaders. Yeah, don't say liberal order world leaders. Just be like, you know, we went out, we saw that these like hooligans were wreaking havoc. And people, of course, understandably pushed back against that. And it was kind of shocking to see how at odds Western press has been with like what actually unfolded. I always explain I always explain to people, like, know your audience, okay? Know who you're speaking to. Try to imagine how your message will be received, okay? Trojan horse your radical positions, if you know what I'm saying. It's your responsibility as the largest content creator on the left to grow much more than the 400 right-wing creators ahead of you. Yeah, but you always have to package it. And it's always funny because, like, I am very open about this. I'm very open about, like, constantly messaging to an audience and like knowing how that message will be received, which is why so many people will try to bastardize what I'm saying or clip it out of context in general. But the thing is, like, ultimately my radical goals are Medicare for all, free college, and end the wars globally, uplifting the working class internationally, allowing everyone to thrive. Like, these are not, I don't think that these are nonsensical, bad positions. The very fact that these positions broadly are considered evil or radical means that we as a society have completely dropped the ball on basic empathy, basic humanity. That's what it is. Because when you go to the extreme right, like, their position is literally, we need to forcibly exclude certain subsects of society and divide society on inalienable characteristics, traits that they cannot change about themselves, whether it's like religion, ethnicity, yada, 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 right? And maybe even forcibly expel them. On the extreme left, or at least where I'm standing, my positions are, my radical positions are that we have to protect every single person and that we have enough wealth and enough power to do so. But unfortunately, we are controlled by a system, that we exist under a system that refuses to do said things because of financial material interests of those who are at the tippy top of society, and a system that preserves their position. That I don't think that is like a super radical position. I don't think that that's a super radical, super scary position in the way that people try to say it is. We put the interests of corporate profits over the interests of people. I'm seeing stories like this all over the place. I don't know how to get Bernie/leftist message to people and make them believe it. Did you vote? Yes, for Trump. Not trying to get my taxes raised. You're a hostess at Outback. I mean, this seems like a meme overall, but yeah, there are a lot of people who think that way. Yes, there are a lot of people who think that way. American brains are broken. American brains are completely fucking broken, okay? Here's a great representation of broken brains. Let's take a look at why America voted for Donald Trump. Again, this is anywhere but Washington series from The Guardian. It's one of my favorite types of fucking news hits when they get like a British guy to go talk to some American hogs in the heart. They can take the L for trying to shove gender affirming care into the schools. Yeah, dude, I too like to imagine a world that is not happening. Gender affirming care into the schools. Like, dude, I don't even know how old you are. I doubt that you are. I doubt that you have children, but I have these conversations so much. And it's like, following the scientific consensus on harm reduction is, what the medical scientists have decided is the best way forward, is probably the best thing to do, right? It's just like, are you pro children committing suicide? Like, I don't understand. That's like a very weird and very radical position. 32-year-old Reddit mod. Do you at least acknowledge that Medicare and free college could serve the people in charge of them more than they actually serve the American? It's a very real possibility. Wait, what? Trans kids have the highest suicide rates. Yeah, because of fucking idiots like you. And secondly, what? Medicare and free college could serve the people in charge of them more than actually serve the American people? What are you saying? Serve the American people? Or serve the people in charge of Medicare for all? What do you think is going to happen when you get free healthcare, when you have free college education, like all the way up to college and trade schools, that it's going to somehow harm you? Like, you're going to be educated and it's going to suck? Like, what? Medicare already is the most popular existing socialized medicine structure in the nation. It's the most popular healthcare in the nation. Okay, Medicare, it exists, and people fucking love it. Okay, not benefiting those in charge of it. I don't even know what that would mean. Unbased. Yeah, it's unbased.
Election victory, despite 34 felony convictions, 2 impeachments, the end of national abortion rights, and an
Do you think it's true that the Democrats lost because they don't appeal to or include young men, but also we will always have to coddle men for them to listen to do what's right? Oh, this argument, man. Yeah. I think one of the worst lessons that the Democrats are already like gearing up for is one that would be self-serving for me to lean into as well, right? If I was someone who did not have a genuine mechanism for change in mind, which is we need like hundreds of liberal Ben Shapiro style podcasters to flood the market, and that will convince the children, that will convince the youth to be pro-liberal. They already exist. They don't actually have that same level of popularity as right-wing content creators have. And there's a reason for it. That reason is because unless they are also like to a certain degree right-wing themselves, right? They already exist. That's not convincing people, okay? You cannot message your way out of this without having the actual message of the top change. You have to look at the problems that young men are facing and try to address them, okay? And be earnest. If you don't do that, if you don't address their material needs and you just simply tell them like, oh yeah, if I make convincing like Andrea Dworkin arguments in fucking debates, in podcasts or whatever, all of these young men are going to become magically feminists is so stupid, okay? To tackle the problem at its root. And the root is radicalization happening because of material conditions, okay? Sure, there is definitely an air of entitlement. There is a crisis of insecurity among young men. There's a crisis of insecurity across the board for the next generation because they look at what's going on. They know that they'll never be able to fucking own a home. They know that they'll never be able to have honest wages that help them survive. They know that they're never going to be able to retire at a regular age. Okay? And that shit sucks. That sucks. And in that environment, you feel weak, you feel scared. And especially if your parents have told you over and over again, or if you look at you look at the past generation and you look at the gender dynamic in the past generation, and you have these expectations that you're supposed to, society owes you something, and you have this level of entitlement, and you lean into said entitlement, you start believing delusional things, especially when there is an entire marketplace of also delusional, insecure fucking losers who prime you up, who tune you up into saying like, nah, dude, it's because women actually are advancing in society. The society is designed to fucking advance women, and they're doing that to fuck you over. So it's a multifaceted problem that requires a nuanced approach. There is no black or white solution to this. There is no like, we put a bunch of fucking liberal podcasters who flood the market and then everyone's going to become a liberal. That's not how this works at all. Okay? Especially if the Democratic Party's like inability to address these material issues remains as their top ideological priority. You are never going to be able to fucking convince young men with I'm going to give you $50,000 in tax cuts for your startup. I love startups. I love fucking small businesses and startups. It's like, dude, there's a shit ton of people who are not of that mindset, okay? There's a shit ton of people who are not of that mindset. Like, they're working. They fucking work Uber, okay? They're DoorDash drivers, and they're doing all this stuff. Like, you have to meet them where they're at. They have very real concerns. And in all of those concerns, if one side is turning around and addressing their concerns and saying, you're right to be angry and you should be angry at women. You're right to be angry and you should be angry at other migrants, right? They're coming in and taking your fucking jobs. And the other side is like, we need to maintain civility and hug and kiss the Republicans who are calling us pedophiles. And we also need to make sure that Israel gets $18 billion so that they can keep pummeling Gaza and Lebanon with force and maybe even do a first strike on Iran. Yeah, people are going to look at that and be like, the fuck? Like, every aspect of the Democratic Party is busted, okay? Every aspect of it. Even when they do good things, like pulling out of Afghanistan or beefing up the NLRB, Lena Khan, okay? The IRS actually going after tax dodgers. Like, when they do good things, they don't even fucking promote it because they're scared. They're scared of promoting it. They don't campaign year round. There is a way to fix the Democratic Party even as it is, right? Without really changing too much. Just fucking market better. There is that aspect of it too. You'll still be able to secure marginal victories over the Republican Party as things get worse and worse year after year. But if you actually want to have a resounding victory, you have to address people's problems. You can't just be like, it's a vibe session. Okay? When wages are not outpacing inflation, you can't just turn around and be like, why do people think like the prices were going to go down? You fucking idiot. You know? Like people do not have the capacity. People do not have the capacity to think about these things in you know, the academic ways in which you expect them to. And not only that, but also people are so propagandized towards that they just have a real inability to dream of an American government that actually has their best interest in mind. Like, I'm in an environment that is heavily dominated by men. My community is overwhelmingly male, okay? Overwhelmingly white men are in this community, okay? It's not like this organically occurred. How the fuck did it happen? You know? How did it happen? You can't recreate it. You can lean into it, but that requires the Democratic Party to at least like pay attention to people like myself. You know what I mean? That's it. That's crazy. What's the most significant issue for you is unity is wild. Like, no disrespect to my man here, but fuck, brings a fucking chill down my goddamn spine, dude.
As results came in, I headed to a Democrat watch party in Detroit. It's not even midnight yet, and this party is already largely empty, which I think tells you a lot about what's happened tonight.
Wonder how you're feeling.
Nervous. Yeah, very nervous. What he could possibly do to this.
We are in the middle of an absolutely gargantuan rainstorm. Donald Trump's about to be declared the President of the United States.
They're fucking insane, dude. In the year 2024 of our holy Lord, this fucking psycho's talking about vaccines and mask mandates, brother. What the hell? She's gripping that shit too. God damn. She's like, give me the mic. The messaging gap on this issue is so glaringly obvious that you got a hijabi woman at a fucking Trump rally literally being like, he said he's going to end the war. He promised it. That's it. What did the Democrats promise? The Democrats obviously had a harder position here because they were responsible. Okay. They were responsible for not restraining Israel to begin with. But it's like, how can you look at this and not recognize? You can look at this and say, oh my God, people are so stupid, right? And we do plenty of that, right? We do plenty of that here. But like the other side of this is, aside from vote shaming, which is, again, not how you run campaigns, okay? We can have, you know, this catharsis. We can have this moment of emotion. But the Democratic Party as a party cannot, okay? They have to look at this and go, how did we drop the ball so spectacularly? And I can tell you exactly how, okay? I can tell you exactly how. It's because the Democrats portrayed themselves as the lethal military, pro-American, hegemonic superpower war party, okay? That's it. They kept repeating it over and over again, and people heard it. So all it took from the Trump side was to say, I'm going to stop the war. That's all it took. Anger within the Arab Muslim community towards the Democratic Party led many who considered voting for Stein to switch to Trump when polls tightened to ensure Harris lost. I spoke with the U.S. Muslim community members to understand why for the new Arab. Yeah, they wanted to punish the Democrats. They wanted to say, you cannot win while killing our people. And in that situation, they're like, Trump is probably going to do even worse things. But you cannot look at the situation if you are a consultant, an advisor, and say, fuck these guys, fuck these voters. Because the reason why we got here with so many fucking people leaving the Democratic Party or just like choosing not to vote is because of the fuck these voters attitude. Do you remember when I told you?
I'll show you 3 states in specific. I'm going to show Wisconsin. I'm going to show Georgia. I'm going to show Arizona. Dana, do you know what the total was between those 3 states?
I don't.
Wasn't even 43,000 combined, and that was the difference with Biden winning all three. And in the end, Trump would have ended up with 269 electoral votes.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News.
Remember that number. Remember that number. This is why I told you the uncommitted movement was very important. But nobody listens to me because what the fuck do I know?
2020. I want to show you 3 states in specific.
It wasn't just that. There was another thing that I consistently mentioned. Okay, this is from October, like before the election. Another thing that I consistently mentioned, okay, over and over and over again throughout this entire process. Even when you're not eating, you're still eating. Yeah, exactly. Can you talk about stuff instead of just proving yourself right? I am talking about stuff. This is me talking about stuff. I think it was even, it was before that. It was Felix also made a point on the pod. He said that Dems almost wanted to win and lose the Arab vote to prove a point. That's what it felt like, for sure. There were a lot of instances where I asked you guys to clip my fucking takes because I was like, I'm telling you right now, this shit is not good. This is September, sorry, not October. The thing is, I don't even know what to say, actually. Stop talking us on. I really want to understand your thought process behind cutting off your nose to punish your face, but it's going to get worse, right? Yes. Long-time listener, first-time subscriber, love everything you put out. Can I ask why you class yourself as white? Are you being sarcastic? I mean, I am. I'm pale as fuck. Like, I track as white for many people before they find out my name is Hassan. I have a lot of white privilege. So I say I'm white because I am. Uh-oh. Little F that just took place. I don't know what happened. The moment that I said I'm white, all of a sudden, the stream was like, no, you're not. Calm down now. Little baby F. Hold on. Let me also hit up Felix. He said like 2-ish. All right. What do you want for food? Remember when Hassan used to be brown and now all of a sudden he's white? So which one is he? There's never been a moment where I've said I'm brown. I've always said I'm white. It's usually incredibly racist people who switch between whether I'm white or whether I'm brown, okay? Depending on how they want to construct an argument. You asked us to clip this. She's losing. It is because she ran a fucking dog shit campaign by refusing to disassociate from Biden. Okay, number one, first and foremost, refusing to fucking capture the momentum that she had early on and capitalize on it by addressing the real economic harm that Americans were feeling by simply saying, oh, $50,000 in tax cuts for startups. Like, that's what we're going to do. If she loses, it is entirely because she did not separate herself from Joseph Robinette Brandon and ran towards him, which is the absolute stupidest thing she could have fucking done. And I don't want to fucking hear from a single goddamn person that I was wrong on that. I was 100% right on that. And polls from Blueprint and many other pollsters show that reality. Messaging polls show that people fucking hate that Kamala Harris. Thoughts on the liberals blaming progressives? They're bailing on the pro-Palestine movement. What do you mean bailing? They were never on board with the pro-Palestine movement at all. The fuck? Sorry for the DNC. From the DNC, sorry, 2X. Oh, this one.
Take America's long military dick and wave it at everyone in the region, bringing troops into the fray, okay? Bringing troops into contest. Do everything in its power to make sure that the Dems don't win. Kamala Harris will be attached to all of Joe Biden's worst foreign policy achievements. Barring that, without that, this election is not in the bag at all. I've been warning that the Democrats are way too cocky, way too confident about the Brad Summer memes, the momentum that they got, the momentum that they experienced. That momentum came because the Democrats responded to public pressure. I'm sorry. You have to be the dumbest to be like, I'm voting for Kamala Harris because she's going to go to war with Iran, because she's going to stand up to America's enemies. You want to know why I know you don't think that that's a good speech? Because you're coping in the chat saying, well, it's not for me. Maybe it's for some other person. Maybe it's for the Trump guys that want to drop Trump, but just like need that extra oomph. Are you saying this was a 1 out of 10 absolute train wreck in your opinion? No, of course it's not a 1 out of 10. My expectation coming into the speech was to see what Kamala Harris talks about when she's like the joy candidate, to bring hope and change and joy. She had the opportunity to run 2008 Obama. That's what I was expecting. Even if it was fake, my expectation at the very least was that the couple moves that they made, they were going to lead into a progressive messaging campaign. I'm sorry. The Democratic president should never, ever say, we are going to have the most lethal army, the most lethal military in the world. You're supposed to be the counterbalance, the fascist, jingoistic sentiment. You're supposed to at least aesthetically present yourself as the peaceful candidate, as the peaceful party. She went up there and went cop mode. It was shocking. Like, I shit on anarchists all the time. You know this. I do. But goddamn, they're kind of not wrong. That's crazy. She had all this progressive momentum. And now all she's got are the loyalists who are just begging for someone, not Biden. So the answer is not vote. Man, I'm not saying that. Vote for Kamala Harris, baby. Do whatever the fuck you want. I'm not going to tell you not to vote for her. And most will tell you to say that you're not going to vote for her, to try to get her to do your bidding. As a voter, it is your right. It's your right to demand things from your politicians for your vote. They do not have your vote for granted. They should earn it from the jump. The one thing I will tell you is not vote for Donald Trump. When it comes to like making a political calculation, it's always running towards this mythical guy out there that is like, I'm going to only vote for the Democrats if they become moderate. Then become a Republican. I never hear a Republican go, you know, Donald Trump's got to take this line. He's got to take this soft approach because there's some moderates out there that he needs to win over. It's because that's not a thing. Because they're entitled to their politicians doing their bidding. Democrats are so cowardly that they're like, I want this thing, healthcare, free college, I want these things. But honestly, I'm terrified that my neighbor doesn't want it. And he's not even going to vote for the Democrats, but maybe he will. So we should just run on this moderate policy for some other guy, not me, but another guy that might want it. It's wild that we're always seeking out this mythical moderate. People take for granted in European countries all of the policies that we are desperately trying to bring forward. But here in America, it's a non-starter. Trans people were mentioned twice during the whole DNC, by the way, no speaker. I mean, that's like, that aspect of it, as long as it's like a firm commitment after trans people, I don't believe that Democrats are going to lean into transpanic, which by the way, actually, I don't know, maybe they will. they're just going to become the Republican Party of 4 years ago until that ratchet effect makes it so that the Democratic Party inevitably becomes the Republican Party just at the same time. Jake Tapper saying, and there were criticisms of the left calling Kamala a cop. Tonight, she seemed to have stepped right into that. True. They're celebrating her being a cop. There's a right-wing Democrat movement and they're not even hiding it. But no, you don't understand. Chatters will tell me all about how good this is. I ain't dude and go vote for Trump. Bro, I swear to God, the Dems are so back. This literally is like, you know, oh, if you don't want to vote for her, like, you don't want to vote for her, like, you're saying that she shouldn't be this, like, right-wing. You must like Trump. That's crazy. Like, you think that's a good way to message, dude? You think, like, you should try and push people away from the party? You think this race isn't close? Democrats in the Electoral College, Democrats need to win by 5% nationally, minimum. That's without factoring in, obviously, in the current polls, at least a 3 to 5% margin of error. We're not even in that comfortable space yet, and you motherfuckers are running victory laps. Oof.
That was the last night of the DNC. That was the last night of the DNC. How did I see it so correctly, so far ahead? You've had way too many esoteric predictions come true. This shit is blatantly apparent to anyone who isn't on the DNC payroll. How? And it's so interesting that while I was 100% correct, there's one other aspect of this that I want to talk about. I was 100% correct on all of this shit. So was Michael from Pennsylvania, who is now banned for, you know, something that he said on stream that I think is indefensible. Let's be real. And he doesn't think it's defensible either. But a thing that I want to mention here, is that this isn't hindsight. This is foresight. This is sight. Okay? This is sight. So how do we get here? Why was I so fucking right about all this shit? And then there were so many people who were so goddamn wrong. It's because people love deluding themselves and creating a hug box for themselves. I saw this thing where Republicans were doing victory laps over David Pakman. Okay? What's his name? Colin Rugg or whatever. He posted about David Pakman losing subscribers. And part of that is because, I mean, look, I have cordial disagreements with David, but I do think that he hammed up, and I've made some jokes about it. He was really libbed up, right? He was really libbed up, greatly overemphasizing the Democratic Party's chances. And I think partially he did that because he personally stopped giving a shite. Thank you for the 10 gifted subs. Okay. Let me see if I can find the actual tweet. What's the name of the guy? It's like Colin. It's like one of those like fucking right-wing accounts that like pops off and posts shit all the time. Agman is no friend of the Palestinians. I know. We are definitely at odds with is it 1 L or 2 L's? Is this it? No. Oh, I found it. Okay. But I can't find the fuck. This guy posts so much. He's like a power user. Here. This is what Republicans are taking victory laps over now. New Dem influencers are seeing record numbers of subscription cancellations along with a mass exodus of followers, causing an algorithmic desubscription spiral. The development comes after many of these influencers gaslit their followers into thinking Harris would win. David Pakman called out his own party for giving up when things get hard. Let's watch what he had to say about this issue. Okay, don't say pack watch. Don't say pack watch. I have a broader point that I want to make.
When I woke up this morning, we had lost 5,000 YouTube subscribers compared to where we were last night. Now, the first thing I thought was, is this a glitch? We've been on YouTube for 15 years or something like that. And Subscribers always just go up. They just never go down. They go up. Is something wrong with my channel? Is someone attacking my channel? What's going on? So I started texting, and I texted Brian Tyler Cohen, and I texted Tyler Cohen and Brian Cohen and Brian Tyler, all of them. I texted all of them. I texted Jesse Dollemore. I texted Luke Beasley.
I have no idea who these people are. I do know Brian Tyler Cohen. That's another content creator who's like kind of lived up as
Farron
well.
Cousins and Sam Cedar. And every single one of our
He didn't text me.
channels since last night is hemorrhaging subscribers. What is it that is going on? Here is a graphic. As you can see, subscribers just go up, 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 and they are down. It is not just YouTube subscribers. We are seeing record cancellations of paid memberships. Record cancellations. These are the people that keep the show running. Now, for a moment, I thought, if it's just YouTube, maybe YouTube is purging people who are inactive subscribers. And once a year, usually YouTube does this and you see a little decline and then numbers go back up. They're not doing it. They're not doing it. And if that were the case, we wouldn't be seeing paid membership cancellations on the website. So now I understand what is going on. It's terrifying, but it is happening. A lot of people are checking out. I heard anecdotally from a couple dozen people who said, you know, David, I just can't do it anymore. I just can't do it. I'm checking out. I'm out.
Okay, my controversial opinion is I don't think it's like, I think unsubscribing from a YouTube channel is not, stopping the fight or whatever. You know what I mean? I'll say this much. I have not seen a decline in my subscriptions. I've seen an increase in my subscriptions, both here on Twitch and also on YouTube as well. One thing I will say is that, like, Colin Rugg is saying people were disillusioned by David Pakman's analysis, so they're fucking punishing him by unsubscribing. I can't speak on this. I don't know if that's like the actual, I don't know if that's literally what happened. I wonder if I think it could be interesting to have a conversation with David Pakman about like what he thinks the campaign did wrong and match it up against like what he has presented as what the campaign has done right. But is Hasanabi Archive not you? No, it's not. My point is, David Pakman called out his own party for giving up on things. He terrifies me because our instinct is the opposite of what it does. And we will get crushed if this is the way we just respond to defeat. The right wants us to not exist. The right wants to decimate independent progressive media. When the right loses, they get organized, they fund, and they create insanely effective organizations like Turning Point USA. Investing in the Daily Wire and build out this huge network of right-wing idea and influencers. We are in an algorithmic desubscription spiral right now because when people start unsubscribing on YouTube, YouTube thinks, oh, we probably shouldn't recommend this content. The thing is, I will say this much, okay? I did notice something in my own YouTube, okay? This is like kind of, I guess this is somewhat irrelevant, but I mean, it's like a hyper specific focus. But even in my own YouTube, every time I was, openly critical of the Democratic Party, are the Democrats throwing this election 3 weeks ago? Does Kamala Harris still have a chance? Kamala Harris is wild for doing this podcast. Like every time I was critical, how the media lies to you, Tim Walz defends himself on Fox News. Most of my coverage was incredibly critical of the Democratic Party. And the incredibly critical videos of the Democratic Party were simply Kamala is flopping in this interview. Like these critical videos where I kept reiterating my position over and over again about what the Democrats were doing wrong did not reach a broad audience. People did not want to see it. People did not want to see it at all. Whereas videos where I was hopeful about Kamala Harris's chances, okay, is Kamala Harris's strategy all wrong? 3 weeks ago, 123,000. What the hell is Kamala doing with Ested Herndon? 144,000. Kamala losing Arab voters to Trump? 108,000. Kamala Harris's town hall was a disaster. Sub 100K. Okay. Drama, 500,000 almost views. Okay. shitting on the Republicans, as Austin said, hogwash, that goes nutty. People love that shit. There was a post in your sub of people doing the same. I'm done. I ain't following politics no more. I'm letting God take the wheel and be uninformed. I'm sick of it. It feels selfish. Yeah, I mean, that's one fucking Reddit post. I'm looking at like broader numbers here. It's getting closer. Craziest poll ever dropped. See, this is the Iowa poll, 384,000. And if you look at like David Pakman's, I assume, if you look at David Pakman's videos from the time, if we were to look at an assessment of that, it seemed like there are a lot of people that wanted to see positive news about Kamala Harris. So they responded positively to positive news about Kamala Harris. Okay. Liberals wanted hopium. Liberals wanted hopium. They wanted to get libbed up and they wanted to hear how bad Trump was and how good Kamala Harris was. And then when they pushed themselves to this echo chambered position, okay, when people push themselves to this echo chambered position, obviously they felt duped and they felt angry. And to a certain degree, it's kind of their fault. Like, you were seeking out this content. You were rewarding people that were giving you this content. Actually, I didn't click on your videos because I thought, of course, our most prominent online dude is shitting on us. Yeah. Now, the reason why I'm mentioning that, anytime I criticize Kamala in your comment section and say she's going to lose, I get swamped with libs calling me a Trump supporter. It's true. I listen to the pod, Johns, when you depress me too much. Yeah, if you were also in there, if you were also exhibiting that kind of tendency and not taking this stuff like seriously and then turning around and just like seeking out positive affirmations about how great Kamala Harris was actually doing, remember that. Like, remember how you got there. If you feel like this world-changing event that unfolded and you felt like it was impossible to predict, then obviously there was a mismatch. There was obviously a mismatch with like what you were seeing. There was obviously a mismatch with what you were seeking out and what the reality was. It was actually this video that reminded me of that, actually. Where was it? This is the day of. I think this was my final prediction and why. How are you not live? He is live, but Twitch is hiding his channel from the front page. You got to visit directly the stream. I remember seeing the comments on this video the day before the election, and I was, again, critical of Kamala Harris, and people in the, and even though I said Kamala Harris is a slight chance of victory. So why in the comment section, people were like, most analysts say she's run a good campaign. What is the data you're saying that she's run an objectively bad campaign? Her campaign has been flawless. What is he talking about? Data scientist here, an avid Silver bulletin reader. Nate Silver was the only on the Trump is going to win train when Biden was running. It's been a toss-up since Kamala tossed her hat in. Nate Silver is hedging his bets now that he can claim he forecasted a Kamala win. Hassan has no idea what the median voter thinks. Like, such bad takes. She's had a pretty perfect campaign. What are you talking about? Her campaign not ran bad. Her campaign has been amazing and effective by all objective metrics. I can't imagine what you're referencing. Campaign had been amazing. She had 100 days, not 2 years. Babes, I love you, but her campaign was so good. What are you talking about? It's absolutely not a fact. Wow, I actually have to disagree with this one. Her campaign has been pretty good. I usually agree with you, but I think she's had a great campaign. You make a few good points, but it's been a very good campaign. Not flawless, but damn good. Whenever I'm vindicated in moments like this, it's not the flex and be like, I told you so. You should have listened to me. I don't give a shit about that, okay? Because the world moves on and things are going to get worse before they get better. But the reason why I show you this is because I want you to identify exactly the motivations that you had in that moment that caused you to look at what I was saying and not hear what I was saying. Where were you getting information from that caused you to be so firmly committed to the idea that she ran a fantastic campaign? Hassan thinks a perfect campaign is one that 100% caters to his positions on all issues, even though his opinions are niche. I find myself almost always agreeing with Hassan's takes, but I really disagree here. Kamala's campaign has overall been good. Bit of a comms problem, but still great overall. This really shows Hassan's lack of political strategy knowledge. Like, you want a bad campaign? Look at Mondale versus Reagan. She had a great campaign. Every single comment. Every single comment. So what? Kamala ran a great campaign, and the fact that Kamala lost really mutually exclusive? You can't run a fucking great campaign and then lose by worse numbers than Hillary Clinton. Okay? Clearly, if you lost, what kind of attitude is this? No, dude. No. She ran a fucking bad campaign. She lost. What are we talking about? Even in the aftermath of a resounding defeat, there are still people who are saying, no, you don't understand. She actually did do her best. No, she didn't. There are so many gimmies that she just dropped the ball on spectacularly, if not ran directly against. And not only was I so right about some of those things, they even internally were saying, what the fuck are you doing? Dem insiders begged the team to not campaign with Liz Cheney. It's all coming out now. Could have told everything that I verbatim, every single thing that I brought up throughout the entire campaign. Focus on the economy, focus on kitchen table issues, and not by fucking saying, $50,000 in tax cuts for startups. Stop running a fucking neoliberal tax cut focused campaign. That's so stupid. These moderation focused policies are awful, and they're not responding to people's material harms, their material experiences. In case you missed it, inside the Harris team's all-staff call the other night, one bit, campaign leaders pleaded with staffers to not talk to reporters, according to 4 people on the call who spoke with Axios. What? Her campaign was perfect for those who'd crawl over glass to vote against Trump? That's not the voting majority. Exactly. Then by logic, Trump ran a stellar campaign. He didn't, but he still ran a better campaign than Harris. Yes. I said both sides are running objectively bad campaigns, but one thing I kept reiterating, I don't know if it was like during the Amish vote conversation, and I asked you guys to clip that. I don't know if anyone did, but remember what I told you? I was like, Donald Trump, if there's 10 votes to gain anywhere, Donald Trump will go and get them. Okay? Because he runs like he wants to fucking win. While his top line messaging was fucking stupid, he still actively went out in front of people and directly saw what they were interested in and said he would do that. Okay? If there's 10 Amish votes in a goddamn district in Pennsylvania, he's going to go out there and try to get those votes. He's like, there's a reason why 64% of Native Americans, I saw one poll, it's like insane, voted for him. You want to know why? Because he did right by them once. Okay? I think he like did federal recognition for one tribe. And people remember that shit. People fucking remember that shit. I don't know if it's a bad poll or not, but no, I told you that he was going to do a decent job. I told you that he was going to do even do a decent job with the native vote in certain fucking states. These are important. Only 24K Native Americans voted for him, but yeah, Hasanabi. That's not completely true, but yeah, over 50% did vote for him. Yeah, interestingly, Bill Kristol, a top never Trump Republican, publicly urged Harris in the final weeks of the campaign to pitch a progressive populist economic message against Trump and his army of billionaire supporters. Even going on Joe Rogan was a good move, and Dem sending Feder Bit was awful. Yeah, Feder Bitch was the worst person to send. Trump ran like he wanted to win. Kamala ran like she expected to win. That isn't true. It was an NBC exit poll of under 300 self-identifying people in the cities. Oh, okay. I mean, out of those who do vote, indigenous voices are obviously incredibly suppressed in the election. Only 23,000 Native Americans voted for Trump. That's 1.5% of Native Americans. The majority of us don't vote because the genocide of our people is still happening under both parties, which is ironic because there is a direct one-to-one fucking comparison for that and, Gaza. 120 million adults didn't vote. If you put all the non-voters into their own party, they would beat the Republicans and Democrats by 50 million votes. They also heavily suppressed the votes of Native Americans. Most Native Americans on reservations don't have cars, and Republicans purposely make polling places far away from the res. And because we got the highest unemployment and poverty rate, a lot of folks with cars don't got gas money. Then if you're a Native American in Alaska, there's some tribes that got to fly 100 miles away on a small plane to get to the nearest polling station. Many natives in Utah, South Dakota, and Nevada have to drive 100 miles to the nearest polling station. Then, because we don't have physical addresses on reservations, a lot of natives get rejected at polling stations because their tribal IDs don't have an address listed on it. And if their tribal IDs are somehow accepted when they get to polling stations in some of the very isolated rural areas, half the machines don't even work. Not to mention, but why would indigenous people who suffered under a genocide in the U.S. want to vote for the other genocide of Palestinians? That would be so disrespectful to our dead ancestors to vote for the demise of Palestinians. My baby mama and her 4 kids are undocumented, and we're currently applying for permanent residency status because America's Samoa requires it for my kids to attend school and for my girl to work. Here's a step-by-step process of what that has looked like over the last year. There you go. The reason why I mentioned this, though, is that like the tiny minuscule percentage of natives that do vote, the fact that the majority voted for Donald Trump is not because they're like fucking racist dumbasses or whatever the fuck. I'm willing to bet that a lot of the natives that did vote, a lot of the Native Americans that did vote probably came from that one tribe that he fucking gave federal recognition to. And Donald Trump does stuff like that all the time. Okay? Donald Trump does shit like that. He does that shit because he knows he already has a fucking ceiling. Okay? He's already tapped out. He courted the Maine lobsterman for 1 electoral college vote. Exactly. We did not majority vote for Trump is intentional disinformation. People are misrepresenting the NBC exit poll from cities in only 10 states of 229 people self-identifying themselves on their way out of the polls. You can see the actual election data from counties near the tribes. Here's the Oglala County, South Dakota. Here is a nominee tribe of Wisconsin. Imagine telling an entire Maricopa County you're going to go hard as fuck on the border and expect them to vote for you. Joe Biden and Harris fans were screaming at pro-Palestinian Native Americans for protesting his apology. Yeah, I saw that. Anyway, the Harris Walsh Trump fans. Kennedy, damn, the 7 total Kennedy voters, those are my goats. So ultimately, okay, the point I'm trying to make is this is somewhat of a misread of the exit polls, and I recognize that. Exit polls are unreliable, even though we make a lot of inferences off of it because there's no readily available data beyond that at this point. Having said that, okay, Ryan Grimm quoted you word for word on Al Jazeera with Mark Lamont Hill on why young men didn't show up. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where that exact time code is. But listen, chat, listen to me. What I'm trying to explain is there were hundreds of thousands of votes that Kamala Harris could have actively courted, okay? There were hundreds of thousands of votes that Kamala Harris could have actively courted within the youth that got fucking arrested, okay? For protesting against Israel's genocide of Palestinians, members of the Arab, Muslim, Lebanese, Christian Arab communities and their friends, and just white people, black people, brown people, natives that cared about what America was doing. She could have actively courted those votes, okay? Hundreds of thousands over multiple swing districts. There was polling data readily available for this, okay? And she chose not to. And at the same time, she chose to not only avoid them, but also actively chastise them, actively push them aside. Arab voters specifically, like community leaders in Dearborn specifically, were like, I have used up so much of my political capital in my fucking communities. Like I have literally door knocked for every single Democrat. I want to vote for the Democratic Party. I know the dangers that Trump presents, but this campaign is pushing us away on purpose. This campaign is actively pushing us away. What do you expect? What do you expect in that situation? People respond. People are going to understandably respond to that by saying, we hear you. Fuck you. No more votes for you then. Got it. But now they're blaming all the voters they pushed aside and making them into scapegoats to make sure the Democrats stay blame-free and their base stays angry at the votes they pushed away. Yeah. And if they keep this shit up, they're going to wither away more and more of their base. Doors open. That is my point. Yeah, I said I'm going to have Rashida Tlaib on. I'm going to have Rashida Tlaib on next week. USA! USA! Didn't the Dems have more funds? Yeah. And in spite of having $1 billion war chest, they literally fucking ended the campaign $20 million in debt. $20 million in debt. Ryan Grimm timestamp.
A couple points on this. I'm curious for your guys' take on it. But the non-mainstream media space is now maybe it's half the country's like media environment. Like Joe Rogan, all of that podcast, YouTube world, Katie, myself. We're reaching maybe half or more of the country at this point. And if you go into any kind of male gendered spaces that otherwise wouldn't be politically coded, sports, video games, like health and wellness stuff, dudes are into that a lot now, bodybuilding, all of the influencers who are doing content around that stuff are now becoming coded Republican and right wing. And are presenting right-wing ideas through their, so they're talking about video games or they're talking about bodybuilding. But if you're doing a 3-hour stream, you're going to talk about the news of the day. And the way that they talk about the news is generally right-wing. Rogan went from kind of a left-wing, center-left guy to like endorsing Trump this year. And people will call him a white supremacist or something. I bet.
Bar for bar. Guys, what do you mean? I love Ryan. And also, I say these things so other people also hear it and then repeat it.
Half his audience is non-white. And there's just no left-wing competition. There's no center-left or center-left. There's the Pod Save Bros. But they're
not the same. It was the same issue with right-wing radio. There was like Air America, which was like this much, and then there's like...
And then went back.
Ryan is a friend of the show anyway. The Pod Johns are not going to save the discourse space. Okay? They're not. It's just not going to happen. It's not. And the Democratic Party is not going to. The Democratic Party is not, unless they change their attitude towards how they're running and get a little bit more openly antagonistic with their big donors and pull a Trumpian move. Like, Trump is chaotic. Trump was scary for a lot of Republican mega donors, okay? But now we live in his image. Now we live in a country that is directly Trumpian. Whether he won or lost, it did not matter. Because Kamala Harris was still presenting Trump's vision of America. He was able to successfully come in and reshape American politics. And in the process, he secured corporate donors. Corporate donors are people just like you and I. If the Democratic Party, instead of running terrified of their corporate donors, starts saying, you want us or you want these guys? We're going to fucking win without you, and we can do it without you if we need to. Like, we are the government. We are the captain now. We are running the fucking show. If the Democratic Party did that, I'm almost certain, in spite of, all evidence to the contrary, given how capitalism operates, that many corporate donors would fall in fucking line. That's it. I'm waiting for Felix to come to talk about the Amsterdam pogrom story. But what is this?
I can't believe we lost. I mean, we did everything we could. Did you hold a primary so we could pick a good candidate? No. Did you do anything to tap into working class people's frustration with the economy? No. Right. And did you promise to do things differently than the current president that everyone kind of hates? Like, for example, providing like an actual vision for the future. Something that's just not saying, we're not that guy. No. What exactly did you do?
And Liz Cheney.
Brat campaign.
Liz Cheney.
Were you at least brat when you were bumping that? I'm sorry, I'm gonna do a bump in the bathroom.
Where are we? This is sick, by the way. I love this artwork. No progressives want socialism, and people are being honest. It's because they see communism as the ultimate goal, and they're fine with liberalism and capitalism, but that chasm will run the party deep. Dude, it's not. I've never once advocated for a politician to go full tilt socialism. When I fucking talk about what I think is successful strategies of running a modern Democratic Party campaign in the United States of America, given the material conditions. I am an advocate for social democracy. Like people call me libbed up for that reason. It's so goddamn frustrating. I'm not like, dude, fucking start jailing every landlord or some shit. Why not? Because I'm not a fucking delusional theory nerd that is hugboxed into believing that there is a firm and committed militant vanguard party out there. I recognize, as someone who talks to normal human beings on a regular fucking basis, as someone who reads quite a bit about the way that people analyze modern American society, that there is very little class consciousness. Material realities are different. The way that the American industrial output, the way that workforces exist is different. Okay? There is no industrial assembly line where organizing is almost a naturally occurring phenomena. Okay? And in places where people do have a tendency to work under old structures of like an assembly line, corporations have developed methods of absolutely gutting any sort of organizational rigor. Amazon is a great example of this. There is a reason why Amazon has an unimaginable amount of churn, an unimaginable amount of turnover. They specifically bribe you to quit. Because if you were working in a facility year over year over year, you are inevitably going to recognize your coworkers. You are going to start, what are you saying? You make no sense. Yes, I make no sense because you have no understanding of, no, don't ban him. You have no understanding of theory. You have no understanding of like how things work. Okay? That's just the easiest way to put it. What I'm talking about right now is specifically for the theory nerds who say, why are you not advocating for a Marxist-Leninist vanguard party? Okay, this is for a hyper-specific number of people in this community that think that their theory for change is not responsive. Why ban? Because he disagrees? No, I didn't ban him. I unbanned him. Many of you literally don't see what is happening in front of your eyes. Oh my God. Okay. For the people who say, why not revolution now? You are a revisionist. They do not understand the level of class consciousness that must exist or even lay dormant that you can tap into. There is none of that in America. Okay? It does not exist. America is the arch capitalist nation. America was a proto-capitalist nation before capitalism was well defined. Pre-industrial revolution, America was a proto-capitalist nation. It is in our core DNA, an endless expansionist mindset built around genocide of the indigenous population. America also happens to be the country that won the Cold War, the ideological rudder that has been steering the world. That's why the likes of Francis Fukuyama had said that history is over. You know, in the aftermath of the Cold War, it's done. This is now a permanent neoliberal vision that we will exist under. I mean, he's wrong because fascism is coming back in a big way, directly as a consequence of not having any sort of counter hegemon, directly as a consequence of not having any sort of counterbalance that is a moderating force that would offer capitalism a lifeline in the form of a welfare state. Yeah, I know he admitted that he's wrong today. That's why I'm bringing his ass up. The re-election of Donald Trump is a decisive rejection of liberalism, writes Francis Fukuyama. Would you say a primary focus of your work is to build class consciousness? Abso-fucking-lutely. That is what I'm here to do. That is precisely what I do, and I think I do it best. That's what I do best. My point is, neoliberalism has suffered from its own successes. Okay? Both parties are completely captured by corporate interests. There is no counter power. There's no counter ideological. There's counter superpower to the United States and its dominance that that can present an alternative vision that at least terrifies people enough into submission that would then allow an unironic lifeline to liberalism, to capitalism in the form of a welfare state. Okay? What about China? That's funny. Yeah. I think China is a perfect example of the most like the people point to China as like the closest to socialism, and China is like basically Swedish social democracy at its peak. That's it. That is another testament to how hard capitalism has dominated the planet. That's a pretty bad simplification. Yes, I am oversimplifying it. The social democracy with one-party fascist dynamics? No, I don't fucking agree with that. Nice dialectic understanding. Holy shit. All the capitalist contradictions need to be resolved at some point. Sock them bourgeois reforms aren't the fucking end-all be-all. Wait, so you're mad that I'm saying that China is like representative of like Swedish social democracy at its peak, okay? But then you're simultaneously also saying that sock them bourgeois reforms aren't the fucking end all be all, which is ironic because that's precisely what I'm presenting here. So you agree with me on this point, but then when I say that for China, you get mad. How is not one party authoritarian regime? Holy moly. Guys, we live in a fucking uniparty. Wake the fuck up. Wake up. Okay? When it comes to the broadest scopes, when it comes to the broadest strokes, rather, America is uniparty. On American foreign policy, we're uniparty. On neoliberalism, we're uniparty. What the fuck are you talking about? Wake up. The wedge issues are what make you feel like there is some semblance of a democratic choice. And even in that process, you hear one party actively yell at their voter base to vote for them without making any sort of concessions whatsoever to the demands that they have. Okay? Every matter of state is still authoritarian inherently. That's the function of the fucking state to begin with. And one party, multi-party, or a duopoly still ends up under a capitalist organization of the economy, churning out the same exact fucking results. People understand it when I say neoliberalism won, okay? America won the Cold War and it's suffering from its own successes. But when you move one step beyond that and talk about like American democracy and try to approach it with a little bit more theory, everyone goes, whoa, what the fuck? What are you talking about? This isn't to say that you shouldn't fucking vote for either party. I'm not saying that. I'm not one of those people at all. Okay? I am a firm and committed advocate for voting. I love voting. I fucking nut every time I vote. But I'm not American. I agree to an extent about the U.S. system, but cannot agree China is any kind of democracy, really. I don't think anybody understands the Chinese governance, Chinese form of governance. And while it is less democratic overall, certainly, than even the theoretical democracies that we have in the fucking Western world, like people, I think that there is no voting process whatsoever. There is. In the U.S., there is basically one party, the business party. It has two factions called the Democrats and Republicans, which are somewhat different but carry out variations of the same policies. Noam Chomsky. Do people think there's no voting in China? I think they also think that like Chinese voting is similar to like Vladimir Putin or something. Like every country has a different process, right? Even in the Western world, there's different ways in which people go out and vote. There's different forms of governance, but ultimately, on the broadest level, and it sounds kind of reductive, and I guess it is kind of reductive, governments just either work at the behest of corporations, which is what I would say is what is going on in the Western world, with some minor variation, or the corporations in China work at the behest of the government, and as long as the government is interested in, for one reason or another, uplifting people's material conditions, then the people, regardless of a overall lack of civil liberties, feel as though the government has their back and feel quite patriotic about the many significant gains that their government has made. This is the case in China, something that we've talked about before. We tend to forget that many in China and in their lived experience of the past 4 decades, each day was better than the next. Why shouldn't they feel that way? Why shouldn't they feel overall overwhelmingly positive? It's like they're having their own fucking version of the 90s in America, you know, in terms of like global dominance. I'm Chinese, and while I'm not sure that China will eventually transition to full-blown socialism, I will say that China is far easier to reforms its way into socialism compared to Western countries, since we've already won a revolution to have a communist party in charge. I know for a fact that at least our leaders have a firm grasp on dialectics. Yeah, I mean, if they apply it, whether they will apply it or not is an entirely different conversation. China doesn't have socialized medicine. Are they really the people's billionaires? I think the healthcare industry is probably one of the worst consequences, or not consequences, like, but one of the areas that need the most improvement. They do have socialized medicine, by the way. You're wrong about that. But there are significant issues with Chinese healthcare overall. Anyway, I don't know why the fuck we're talking about China. Yeah. Look, if you want to understand how shit operates in China, their zero COVID policies were unimaginably restrictive. Okay? Incredibly restrictive. What happened? They no longer have those policies. They did that. It was very effective, but it was also incredibly restrictive. And it was more so the like lack of knowing exactly when you would be able to freely roam the lands, right? I think it was the lack of understanding, like, and feeling like you have no control over your life, and that to that degree, that was very frustrating for people. And what happened? People straight up fucking revolted, okay? And then what did the government do? They ended it. In China, you can't change the party, but you can change the policies. In America, you can change the parties, but you can't change the policy. This is what Eric Lee said.
But at the moment, the party state, has proven an extraordinary ability to change. I mean, I make the joke.
That is largely blown out of proportion. No, it wasn't, dude. Come on. Like, yes, at the time, their policies were incredibly restrictive, but it was done at the behest of the people, for sure. But it was far too fucking restrictive. Like, not knowing how long you're gonna be stuck in your fucking home, even if they're giving you food, right? Still doesn't change the reality that like you're not allowed to leave your house. Like, that sucks. Okay. And the people genuinely had enough. Within the Western media, the riots in response to China's actions were blown out of proportion. The reason why I know that the riots in response to China's actions were not necessarily all that blown out of proportion is because the Chinese government responded and they lowered the restrictions. That's it. And as soon as they did, they got hit with a shit ton of COVID. And then the media did fucking victory laps about how so many Chinese people were dying to COVID. They're like, oh, these idiots, they fucking lowered the restrictions and look how many people are dying. It was insane to watch. It was insane to unfold. Now, the point is, you're not wrong about that. There was a response by the government. I'm just critical of the way that the Western media covered it. Yeah, there is no real way. That's actually not true. The Chinese government announced lifting quarantine before the protest started. Chinese healthcare is much better these days. My parents get monthly stipends on top of their healthcare, which is completely free to spend on health-related products. Even fruits count. They work for the state, though, not private companies. Yeah, this guy fucking... Okay, CPC Andy. Or, yeah. I wonder why your parents got stipends, huh? All right, anyway. Not all of us are lucky. Not all of us are lucky enough to be born into a fucking family whose parents are leading the charge of the new global hegemon, okay? Why are China so naive? Anti-Chinese propaganda is effective precisely because there is authoritarian issues exist. It's why America is able to use democracy and human rights as a way to bully countries into neoliberalism. Yeah. I think what's ironic about that is that there's two sides of that same coin. You can have authoritarian policies that are implemented at the behest of, like, preserving the overall public safety. At the end of the day, it is quite authoritarian to be like, yeah, sorry, we're just going to have nationalized healthcare. If you're an executive at a healthcare industry, yeah, you might lose your job. You might have to take a pay cut, right? But ultimately, it's for the betterment of America's future, right? That's authoritarian. Americans will not respond positively to that sort of shit at all, okay? But if you don't do that, authoritarianism will still happen to you. It will just happen when material conditions worsen to such a degree that people will inevitably go for the fascist option. And that is where we're at in the United States of America. If given the opportunity between authoritarian fascism or authoritarian socialism, I would prefer the authoritarian socialism option. If those are the only two options, that's it. I'd rather have the state enforce policies of even development, improving literacy, okay, and offering everybody health care than have the state basically melt half the fucking population. If those are at the two extremes, and I'm not saying that that's the perfect solution at all, make no mistake. Okay? Hasanabi, anarchist confirmed, clipped tanky. Okay, but that's really funny because like this, I think what I just said is like inherently the opposite of anarchism. I'm glad you don't clown on anarchists quite often like some mainstreamers constantly do. I mean, I do. Chinese Central Committee department heads usually only stay for 1 to 3 years. They are restrictive to protect their project for countering brain rot, but their democracy is more felt or realized by its citizens. We have Pelosi calling the shots of the past 70 years, delivering empty promises to people and richest donors. You've been really good on chilling on anarchism lately? Yeah, because, you know, you're going to need fucking mutual aid and community organizing. And it's those crusty ass, no shower having ass motherfuckers that are always doing that. So the dynamic is simple. You either have a dictatorship of the bourgeoisie, which is what we have, or a dictatorship of the proletariat. And if that is the dynamic, if you want, you either have the tyranny of the minority or the tyranny of the majority. Americans have decided that tyranny of majority, which is also known as democracy, okay, is a bad concept. And they have deluded themselves into believing that it is a bad concept. That's what's crazy.
In America, you can change political parties, but you can't change the policies. In China, you cannot change the party, but you can change policies. So
wait, what? It's the healthcare is nowhere as good as you think. I never said it was good. I literally said it's the weakest aspect of Chinese governance is its healthcare. That and its mistreatment. I think there's a lot of issues. There is definitely a lot of issues with Chinese governance. Okay, I'm not a China is going to cripple and collapse tomorrow guy at all by any means, but I do believe that, you know, there are still going to be many issues with Chinese governance as well. Healthcare is, I think, one area where there are a tremendous number of problems still. I think that there was a decline in education as well, which the Chinese government immediately took action against. Your opinion on China is so bad. As long as I never listen to your opinion on China, shaking my head. Okay, sure. All right. I can never tell when I say something like that. I can never tell if that person is mad because I'm not glazing China hard enough, or that person is mad because I'm glazing China too much. You know what I mean? Because there are a lot of people. There are plenty of people who will go, dude, you're doing Adrian Zen's propaganda when you talk about Xinjiang. Okay, those are like the MAGA hogs, but for China, that are like, you don't understand. China had to take action in the form of dragnets and implement a surveillance state on an ethnic minority that was a majority in that region because of separatist values being spread, and like they had to do re-education camps. Okay, those are like the MAGA hogs of China. I'm a centrist in China. Okay. I'm a China centrist. They'll be like, you're xenophobic. And then I'll be like, I don't think they're doing like mass organ harvesting of the Falun Gong or whatever. And that Falun Gong is like a rabid fucking CIA-backed psychotic cult that is anti-miscegenation, and that they should never be taken seriously, no matter how many Shen Yun / Epoch Times / NTD coverage, NTD channels they have. And then people will go, dude, that's really fucked up. These guys are the brave, bold warriors that are actually taking down the authoritarian Chinese state. Its collapse is imminent tomorrow. You are such a fucking CCP backing tanky. I'm a Chinese centrist. There's some aspects of their governance that I like. Okay? And there's plenty of things that they do that I don't like. Mike Bloomberg said China isn't a dictatorship. Is he right? The Communist Party does listen to the people sometimes. Earlier this fall, Mike Bloomberg said that the Chinese president Xi Jinping is not a dictator and that he's the long-ruling Chinese Communist Party listens to the people, listens to the public. Now that the former mayor has entered a presidential contest, comments like this are coming back to haunt him. China's CCP does listen to the people as long as they aren't independent minded. Bloomberg is right in one regard. The CCP has a big stake in learning what the Chinese public thinks and providing some of what it wants. The government encourages Chinese citizens to monitor local officials, file complaints. Yeah, this part, for the record, this shit is pretty crazy. They have, like, dare I say, almost a technocratic approach that is, like, very meritocratic in terms of, like, polling all of the fucking local officials regularly. Oh, you didn't fix the pothole? Okay, you're out. But at the top level, obviously, there's still, dare I say, strong leadership. In a recent book on Chinese governance, my co-authors and I document how these limited forms of public engagement can help reduce corruption and improve compliance with regulations. Other studies confirm, even this has like a weird tint, like they're making it sound like it's snitching. No, it's like, hey, listen, you got a fucking local, you got a local official, you ask for, I don't know, a pothole to be fixed on the road. They don't fix it for months. They're out. That's it. It's not called snitching. It's called good governance, for the record. This is one aspect of Chinese governance that I 100% agree with and should be and would love for it to be implemented in America. Can you imagine having an immediate response? Can you fucking imagine having a goddamn immediate response to your local official fucking you over? Okay? Other studies confirm that the Chinese government desires some measure of civil society and is surprisingly receptive to public input, even well-intentioned criticism. In return, an abundance of research demonstrates that the CCP continues to enjoy broad support and legitimacy among the Chinese public. Yeah, never tell Americans that, like, the Chinese people's perspective is broadly infinitely more popular than the Americans' perspective is on their government. It's like LeBron numbers, Lamau. At the same time, the CCP is uncomfortable with having the Chinese people think, feel, or act for themselves. Pervasive government censorship and targeted repressions are symptoms of the leadership's deep-seated insecurity. Naturally, it is harder for the regime to engage and understand the public if it limits what the public can say. I think they're a little bit heavy-handed, but I do agree with this to a certain degree. But Beijing is far better at figuring out what the Chinese people are saying and thinking. In a current book manuscript, I show how Chinese technology helps the government see and understand what the Chinese public wants in a controlled manner. While the system underpinning this technology is dystopian, it helps the regime harness and optimize competing public interests when making policy. This capacity to listen, process, and respond is perhaps what Bloomberg is alluding to. The Chinese public, for instance, wants cleaner air without compromising economic opportunity. The CCP and its leader are working to make that happen, even if it means blowing up dirty factories and relocating entire communities. Xi Jinping and the CCP are delivering a paternalistic version of soft authoritarianism, whereby collective well-being is more important than individual liberties and national development is more important than political rights. Here's what Bloomberg gets things wrong. Yes, Xi Jinping is a dictator. The CCP is generally popular. The governing system is often effective. And Xi Jinping does, as Bloomberg points out, have constituents. But a popular dictatorship is still a dictatorship. Even political science. My point is, we also have a similar structure. We have just duped ourselves into thinking that we do not have an authoritarian government. You know? That's why I used to do this meme where I would like talk about America as though I was a member of the Western political class that is writing an op-ed on China. If you were to use the same exact language applied to China, but with when you're covering the United States of America, you would recognize that 9 unelected people have the capacity to lie to the public in the process of their appointment and then turn around and overturn the democratic wishes of a population and take away their civil liberties, okay, for half the population without even getting too much of a political punishment for it overall. That is what happened in America in these past 4 years. Do you consider that to be democratic governance? I don't. Oh, this is sick. I wonder why they stopped this. How we would cover James Comey's firing if it happened in another country. How we would cover the Supreme Court nomination fight if it happened in another country. How would the U.S. cover the State of the Union if it happened in another country? I wish they would. Dude, I want to do this. I want to bring it back. If it happened there, key test for liberal opposition in legislative elections. Like, I don't want to dive too deep into Orientalism and how many people are misguided and don't understand that the same principles that exist in the Western world are oftentimes looked at as a barbaric practice everywhere else. In Russia, or in the USSR, you had gulags, right? You had work camps and gulags. In America, We house 25% of the entire globe's prisoner population, and slavery is literally constitutionally protected as a mechanism of punishment. What the fuck do you think an American prison camp is? Some of them, like Angola, Louisiana State Penitentiary, is directly built on top of a plantation and is referred to by the same name as the plantation. In Pakistan, they accept bribes. That is disgusting and gross. A barbaric practice of bribery exists in both Pakistan and India as well. Here in the United States of America, we have codified and legislated our bribery structure in the form of corporate lobbying. Do you understand? That is the difference. We delude ourselves into thinking that these structures are very different. It's buttoned up. It's more civil. Okay? The way you would cover it in like the way you would cover shit that we do here, if they were done in China, I can't wait for that to be to be clipped out of context. I fucking hate the internet, man. It's fine. In the United States, let's just say it's not the USA. Let's say it's a different country. In this different country, you can have the richest person on the planet who is not even originally from the country, okay, come into the country as an undocumented migrant, okay, slowly but surely work his way up the ranks of lucking into being in the right place at the right time, okay, and generating an endless amount of wealth by consistently overpromising and under-delivering. But given the way that the stock market works, people still have this firm commitment to him. That person can be under investigation by every orifice of the federal government. Every regulatory investigation, every regulatory agency has launched an investigation to a number of different companies that this massively powerful billionaire owns, okay? And that person can openly say, I am going to give another person that is also a billionaire and corrupt in his own right, $50 million, $100 million, and I'm going to help him win the election so that now I control those federal regulatory agencies, okay? For the tiny, minuscule price of $120 million, I now control every single federal regulatory agency that has, throughout time, targeted, investigated, and punished each of my companies that I own. That's real. That happened. Okay? That's Elon Musk. That is straightforwardly what is going on right now. It's stuff that you read in the history books about oil barons and railroad barons completely controlling the American government. Okay? And it's happening in front of your eyes right now. And yet you turn around and you go, that's different though. How is this different in China? Great question. In China, the government controls the corporations. So you have to be a party member for the most part to be able to even rise through the ranks. Okay? But if you step out of turn and maybe even sometimes criticize the government for good reason or for bad, you get punished. That's it. Can you imagine if America punished China executes former asset management chief for corruption? Can you and they fucking execute their own party members too? Like they will. I mean, I'm not in favor of capital punishment, but I do need you to understand, like, imagine a different world where the government says, oh, you've poisoned baby formula and you've killed people, or you've poisoned the water supply of protected lands. Yeah, sorry, not only are you going to jail, but so are the corrupt government officials that turned a blind eye to it. In America, the government works at the behest of corporations and corporate interest. In China, the corporations work at the behest of government. In the United States of America, we value and reward our omega wealthy for engaging in corrupt practice. We sometimes elect them as president twice. Doesn't matter if you have 6 bankruptcies under your name. If you're a corrupt real estate developer, billionaire asshole, we will elect you on a fascist ticket twice into the highest office. No accountability whatsoever. We reward it. In China, if you do shit like that, you'll I was born in a communist country with a wildly popular leader party that was classified as a dictator. However, he was internationally respected. So I do agree dictatorship is generally bad, but not always that bad. When you do right by people, people trust in you. That part of the equation is simple. By the way, the country is Yugoslavia and the leader was Tito. Listen, brother, don't get me fucking started. You don't know how good Tito was. You don't know how good Tim Duncan was. Oh my God, you don't know how good Tito was. IMF loan communism. Okay. How the fuck did we get here, man? God damn.
Damn, this guy's good.